Good evening, Sukihotu. Welcome to another sharing, live Dharma sharing on Facebook. Today, 20th of September, and we are now doing Awakening series number 15. And we are now on the fifth topic in this series, relax and introspect. And today is part 2. We finished part 1 last week, and this is part 2. Starting this week, I will introduce some components from a program that I developed. It's called the Mindfulness-Based Emotional Composure, or MBEC. So before we begin, I'd like to share with you this link. Please feel free to use this link and download the presentation file, the PowerPoint PDF presentation file, so you can follow along with the presentation sharing that I'm doing. And today we're doing part 2 of this relax and introspect. Now, I mentioned last week that I will be introducing components from this program that I developed. Just a very quick word on the history of this program. I developed this program actually many years ago, umpteen years ago, and I have used it in the corporate world to help corporate executives how they can keep calm and how they can actually focus their mind in achieving their goals. And it's very much, in those days, it was very much centered around motivational science. But things have developed. I mean, we keep evolving and improving. And since then, I have joined a number of important essence of programs. Now, so I'll just show you some. I have spent a lot of time studying the Buddha's teaching of Satipatthana, which is commonly called mindfulness. I will talk more about this in details next week on Satipatthana as a psychotherapy. But this week we will just focus on this mindfulness-based emotional composure. And then also I did quite a lot of meditation since then under the guidance of several teachers. And of course, Bhante Punnaji was the most important teacher during my Dharma learning process. And I also collected quite a lot of material from cognitive psychotherapy and positive psychology, and also from emotional intelligence. And I also was qualified or certified as a clinical hypnotherapist. So I introduced components from hypnotherapy, which I will do next week, some components from hypnotherapy. And also neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, and laughter yoga, which I learned some years ago from the founder, Dr. Madan Kataria, and of course, various other research findings from psychology, neuroscience, medicine, and motivational science. So the program that you see today, I'm just showing you a small part of it, not the full program. The program that I'm showing now, the components, they are greatly enhanced. Now, the program has been expanded. This mindfulness-based emotional composure is really cultivating wellness for body, mind, and spirit. And it covers 10 major components. So today we will do very much on that first one, which is mindful realities of stress. The 4 mindful realities of stress. We will also do a little bit on number 3, mindful breathing exercises to cultivate this parasympathetic nervous response to help us feel more relaxed, composed, and calm. And next week, I will do a bit of progressive muscle relaxation and a few other things, including mind-body connection, okay? So today we will very much focus on the 4 mindful realities of stress, right? So what are the 4 mindful realities of stress? First, we take a look at what is stress and how it arises. And then we look at how stress affects us and how we can relieve the harmful effects of stress. And finally, the methods to recover from stress. Because I've developed the program based on what I call the 4R. I'll just go back to the previous screen. Yeah. Yeah. So you see the second item, the 4R of wellness. Relax. This is basically when you feel stress, you learn how to pause and not get excited and not react right away. So relax. Relief, and this is the process by which we do exercises to help us calm down quickly and relax the body and bring our body and mind to a state of stability instead of agitation. And then recover. Then we actually build up our skill to help us come out of the stressful situation and learn how to adapt and cope with the stress, and resilience, how we can actually survive in the long term. And resilience is most needed at a time like this during the coronavirus pandemic. So today we'll just focus on these 4 mindful realities of stress. So we're going to take a look at what is stress and how it arises and how stress affects us. Now, last week I touched a little bit on the general adaptation syndrome as developed by Hans Selye, and I explained quite a bit of it. And I also connected it with the help of Bhante Punerji. We have connected it to the Buddha's teaching, because the Buddha pointed out that there are internal consequences that arise when we are getting all stressed and we are experiencing dukkha, which is translated as suffering. So when we experience suffering, there are 5 stages of suffering, beginning with grief and sorrow, which is sokha in Pali. This means when we are hit with something unexpected, unpleasant, something not as we want, things that hurt us, or traumatic experiences, we feel sad, we feel the sorrow, we feel the grief. And the next stage is lamentation. And this is the time we start to cry out, right? It's something we are unhappy with and we lament, we cry. And then at the same time, we begin to feel the physical stress, physical pain from the stress. In this context, the word stress is used to refer to this physical suffering that we're experiencing. And that is also the word dukkha. And then our mind is also disturbed, and that disturbance is distress. And the Buddha calls this the domanassa. And finally, if we are not able to overcome all this and come out of this, then we will enter into exhaustion or expiration, upayasa. Amazingly, 2,600 years ago, the Buddha described these 5 stages of suffering. And basically, this is associated with stress and distress. And Hans Selye described the 3 stages of general adaptation syndrome, which corresponds with exactly what the Buddha was talking about. So the first 2 really corresponds with what Hans Selye calls stage 1, alarm reaction. That is when the body starts to react with the sympathetic nervous system's response. And then the dukkha and domanassa corresponds with stage 2, which is the stage of resistance. We begin to fight or run away from it, or fearful of it. So fighting or fleeing and so on. So we begin to battle against whatever is hurting us. And if we can't do it successfully, we give up. Either psychologically give up, which means we fall into depression, or we may experience post-traumatic stress disorder, or we may even give up physically, getting cardiac arrest. Or worse still, emotionally, then we end up with suicidal thoughts. So you can see that these 5 stages of suffering correspond with Hans Selye description of the general adaptation syndrome, the 3 stages. Okay, so we talked about up to that point last week. We didn't go so much into the more details of stress. So today we're going to go a little bit deeper into the details of stress, how it arises and how it affects us. Now, going back to this diagram, vicious cycle of emotions, things are happening around us, stimulating our sense organs, and then we become aware and we start to interpret our circumstances. And if whatever is happening is not according to what we want, if what is happening is something that is unexpected, a failure or some emotional traumatic experiences, then we have this perception of threat, conflict, or fear, right? And when we begin to interpret our circumstances in this way, it arouses the emotions, and then the amygdala kicks in, releasing hormones, causing all kinds of disturbances in the body. And this is the stress reaction, where the body experiences discomfort and then going into this freeze, fight, or flight reaction. This is really stress. We spoke quite a bit about it, but we're going to talk a little bit about how this affects us in the short term and in the long term. So what really is stress is that it is the organism's autonomic biochemical chain reaction, which is the freeze, fight, or flight reaction, as a defense mechanism against perceived threats. So this is really the sympathetic nervous system response. That is, the body begins to react with release of hormones, causing the body to change, organs to react, and all this reaction is meant to protect us from harm. It evolved as an unconscious reaction to protect the organism from harm. This is really what this stress reaction is originally was supposed to do. But many of us in modern times are getting all kinds of manners of stress, all kinds of ways that we get stressed, and that changes the body, and that is very unhealthy. Let's take a look at how unhealthy it gets. So when stress arises, what happens is that the brain from the amygdala sends a signal to various glands in the body. And one of the most reactive gland is this adrenal gland located just above your kidneys. Immediately, it releases a whole series of hormones, but two of the very powerful hormones are the stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. And what do these two hormones do to the body? Very harmful effects. It causes the heart to beat faster, and it causes your blood pressure to rise. And it also increases, speeds up your blood circulation, because this is an autonomic reaction that sends these hormones across throughout your body, through your blood system, in order to reach the various organs in the body to react, to protect you from harm. This reaction, if you are experiencing a traumatic condition or a sudden unexpected event, of course, this condition can protect you from harm. For example, you're being attacked by a predator or so on, okay? But if you unnecessarily get stressed, all these reactions can be very harmful to you. What else does it do? It actually causes your breathing to deepen, your respiration to deepen, and this will help you increase intake of oxygen. This is necessary to protect you from harm, because oxygen is food for your cells, and that is helping your body to build up the strength to immediately react to whatever the threat is, to run or to fight, okay? And your digestive system, the intestinal movement, will have to be suspended in order to conserve the energy, so that the rest of your body, your muscles and your brains, will have enough energy to cope with the stress. So otherwise, the digestive system drawing away the energy, the rest of your body will be weak. So this is an autonomic reaction. This condition is called the sympathetic nervous system response, helping the body to cope with this unexpected event, this stressful event. And also the muscles become all tense, because that's the only way you can fight. If your muscles are not tense, you can't fight against, or you can't run away, because you need that tension in the muscle to fight and to run, see? So muscles become all tensed up, getting ready to fight or run. And hair standing on end. This is actually a very old evolutionary trait. When Homo sapiens were more ancient creatures, more ape-like creatures, this was helpful because it causes the body hair to stand up to make the organism look bigger, to make the creature look bigger. So you try to challenge your predator to make you look bigger. Today you can see it in a lot of animals. They make themselves look bigger whenever they encounter a predator, because that's the way they hope to fight against the predator or frighten away the predator. So this is a remnant of evolutionary past. We no longer have a use for this, but we can feel it. This is called goosebumps. You know, you feel goosebump. That is really what your goosebump is. Your hair is standing on end. And your pupils dilate because then your eye has to now see more clearly what's going on. That's why the pupils will just dilate. They open up so you can now see more clearly, enhancing your vision. Your facial expression distorted. And this is also a defense mechanism because it makes you look very fierce so that your predator might be frightened of you because now you look so fierce. So these are all remnants of evolutionary past to counter against a predator or whatever you are angry with. So the facial expression distorting. And also you are experiencing all kinds of perspiration, body trembling, and body temperature rising. And all these things are the sympathetic nervous system response. Worse still, then there are other internal reactions like the blood sugar level rises, because you need the glucose in the blood to help convert stored energy into active energy to fight against the threat. That's why the blood sugar is increased to help you make your body have more active energy to fight against the threat. And finally, your immune system has to be suspended, because if your immune system is not suspended, it may try to prevent these harmful effects from happening. So the immune system is being suspended by the cortisol. That's why cortisol, as a stress hormone, is so powerful. It can stop your digestive system. It can stop your immune system activity. Now, if you think about it, all these are very, very harmful to the body. So how does stress affect us? You see, if your immune system is suspended, what happens? You fall sick very easily. Your body has now less ability to defend against these pathogens, right? Bacteria and whatever is in the environment. And what happens if your blood sugar rises? If it happens too frequently, you end up becoming diabetic. So diabetes is also a symptom of a person who gets stressed a lot, right? Of course, there are many reasons for diabetes to occur, but a person who gets stressed a lot can easily become a diabetic, easily, because the frequent release of this blood sugar. And this perspiration, trembling, body temperature rising, and all this makes you sick, right? So you can easily fall sick because of that. Facial expression distorted. After some time, your skin gets all dry because this facial expression distorts is partly because of the cortisol and the adrenaline flooding through your skin on the face. And it dries up the skin. So your skin can get dry, and then you can see a lot of people with a lot of wrinkles. We call them railway tracks on the face. So this is really a very harmful effect. And pupils dilating, because the pupils will now forced to open up bigger so that you can see more clearly. Now, if you are stressed frequently, and this happens a lot, it's going to weaken your eyesight. As you age, your eyesight will weaken. You get all kinds of eyesight problem, seeing problem, sight problem. And hair standing on end, of course, sooner or later, the hair will fall off. Then you got no more hair to stand on end, because that is one of the effects of this hair standing on end. If it's happening too much, then you lose your hair faster. Some people get bald faster, okay? And muscles all tense, and this is really very harmful. When your body muscles are all tensed up frequently, it actually causes so much tension in your body, then you really get feeling all uptight, because the tension in the body disturbs the mind. So when your body is all stressed and all tensed, this tension in the body causes distress in the mind. The mind gets disturbed because the tension in the body is so uncomfortable that your emotions are aroused, and that is causing you to experience all kinds of emotional conditions after that. Okay, and intestinal movements are suspended, they are stopped. So if you are in the middle of digesting food and the intestinal movement stops, what happens? All the gastric juice that's released inside your stomach, they are very harmful if there is no digestive action going on. Then the lining in your inner lining of your muscle, in your stomach, can be damaged, and then you end up getting all kinds of ulcers. So that's why they say stress causes ulcers, right? Part of the reason is because of that. Intestinal movement stop while in the middle of digestion, and that is very, very unhealthy. And respiratory problems arise when your respiration deepens, right? So you get all kinds of respiratory problems. And of course, your heart beating faster, blood pressure rising, you become hypertensive. So hypertension and diabetes are clear symptoms of a person who experiences a lot of stress. So, and all these stress hormones being released and flooding through your body, it's so harmful, right? So realize that stress is very harmful. Even if it is protecting you from harm, stress itself, the effects of stress is very harmful, right? So that's really what happens with the physical effects of stress. It then leads to an emotional effect, which distress. This discomfort in the body leads to disturbance of the mind and arousing emotional thoughts. Then your mind goes into all kinds of unwholesome emotional thoughts, from memory, recalling unwholesome stuff, from imagination, thinking of unwholesome thoughts, and expectations, trying to expect things to be different from what they really are. So all these are very, very harmful to you physically and emotionally. So the first mindful reality of stress. What is stress? Stress is the organism's autonomic biochemical chain reaction, the freeze, fight, or flight reaction, as a defense mechanism against perceived threats. It evolved as an unconscious reaction to protect the organism from harm. This is the sympathetic nervous system response. Of course, the opposite of this, right? The opposite of this is called the parasympathetic nervous system response. That is the response of calming and relaxation, right? We'll talk about that in a moment, right? Let's get back to talking about the how stress arises, how it affects us, right? The second mindful reality of stress, how it affects us. Stress disrupts the body's immune system, and it produces tension, agitation, and discomfort in the body, and it causes distress in the mind. And this leads to mental proliferation, the mind running away with all kinds of imagination, memory, and expectation. Imagination, I. Memory, M. Expectation, E. I call this the I-M-E syndrome, or in brief, the I-me syndrome. Because when you go into mental proliferation, your mind begins to imagine things. Your mind begins to recall unwholesome past. Your mind begins to expect things to be different from the reality. It is all very self-centered. That's why it's the I-me syndrome. Because when your mind goes into mental proliferation, it is in a very intense, self-centered state of mind. Okay, and the third mindful reality, right? How can we relieve ourselves of the harmful effects of stress? The harmful effects of stress can be relieved, firstly, by breaking the biochemical chain reaction. That means when the hormones begins to release, it causes changes in the body. So the first thing you need to do is to do something to reduce the release of these hormones. You have to break this chain reaction. Otherwise, it continues to release hormones. The amygdala gets hyperactive. In fact, it goes into amygdala hijack. I spoke about this last week. So this amygdala hijack is not good for you. So you got to break this biochemical chain reaction and also calm the mind, avoiding mental proliferation, using this process called pause, relax, and then think. So this, we spoke about this, so we're going to get into this a little bit more this week and next week. Okay. So finally, the fourth mindful reality, what are the practices and ways we can basically reduce the arising of stress? Learn to relax consciously. Be aware, be conscious relaxation, and systematic introspection. Now, here I'm using Bhante Punnaji's terminology. Systematic introspection is a very precise explanation of the process of satipatthana that the Buddha taught. And satipatthana is what other people call mindfulness. I will talk more about mindfulness next week, because this week we will just focus on these realities of stress and some exercises we can do to help us practice this conscious relaxation. These are the most effective and sustainable ways to stabilize the body, because your body is in a state of agitation with hormones released. So this chain reaction is going on. So you need to stabilize this chain reaction so that it doesn't continue. Break the chain reaction, the hormonal chain reaction, and calming the mind. So by doing that, you will free your body and mind from the harmful effects of stress and helping you to cultivate peace and wellness in your life. So basically, these are the four mindful realities of stress. Okay? So these three-step self-compassion that I've been talking about. Pause. So when things happen, you have to be sensitive to the fact that now your body is changing. So you need to be aware that when your heart is beating faster or your breathing is deepening and you feel tensions in your body, realize that you are now being stressed. Anytime that suddenly you feel tensions in the body, suddenly your heart is beating faster, suddenly your body temperature is rising, suddenly your blood pressure is rising. Now, I'll teach you one small tip. How do you know if your blood pressure is rising? Of course, some people are very sensitive. When their blood pressure rises, they know. So, and there are other symptoms that accompany rising of blood pressure. You may feel a bit dizzy. You may even feel a bit of headache. But here, just underneath your throat, you touch them and you can feel the heatiness. If you feel it getting warm, your blood pressure is going up. This is one of the most sensitive areas. You can then sense, your blood pressure is going up. So this is really helping you to be aware, mindful that your blood pressure is going up. When that happens, realize that you are now being stressed. Be conscious about it and then pause. Don't react right away. Allow time for emotional excitement and anxiety to calm down. And more importantly, allow time for the hormonal reactions to subside. They don't stop right away. Hormonal reactions can subside because once you pause, it reduces the amygdala's arousal. So the amygdala will not be triggering the release of more hormones. But the hormone that has already been released, it is still active in your body. You need to allow time for it to subside. It's like turning off the fan. When you switch off the fan doesn't stop spinning right away. It takes a little while before it slows down and stops. Or it could be a hot plate. You're cooking with an electric hot plate. When you turn off the electricity on the electric hot plate, then the hot plate takes time to cool down. Right? In the same way, when your body is flooded with stress hormones, even when you pause, it takes time for these hormones to subside, the hormonal reaction to subside. But you can help it along. How? By consciously practicing relaxation techniques. Take a deep breath. This is the simplest and most effective and most immediate technique you can use. Just breathe naturally. Don't force yourself. Just take deep breath in and deep breath out. We did some of this breathing last week, so we're going to repeat that, and I'll teach you 2 more breathing today. So you will have 4 breathing techniques. So taking deep breath to relax the body, and also using that opportunity of relaxation to consciously compose the mind to respond. That means allow your mind to calm down. Basically, by focusing on your breathing and helping you to stay in the moment and not thinking about the past or imagining about the future. By observing your breath, you're staying in the moment, you're focusing on the moment, and that can help you compose your mind, right? And then when the mind is adequately composed, that's the time when you think, which is purposefully focus on wholesome and beneficial response to the problem. And another thing you can do with this thinking is introspect. Bring your attention inwards and observe those 4 areas of introspection. I will explain more about that next week. That is the Buddha's teaching on satipatthana, which is commonly translated as mindfulness. But the more accurate word for satipatthana is introspective attention, or another way is systematic introspection, what Padipunaji has been teaching us. So this is a very simple 3-step self-compassion. Self-compassion because you are helping yourself. You are being compassionate towards yourself. You're doing this not for somebody else. You're doing it for yourself. Help yourself to relax the body, calm the mind. Okay, that's really what this 3-step self-compassion is all about. Okay, and relieving from this stress reaction. So when you are relieving yourself from this stress reaction, the first thing you do is this conscious relaxation. What does it do? It helps you relax the body because the biochemical activities will gradually subside. When you pause and you relax, the biochemical activity will gradually subside. They will die off slowly. It won't happen quickly, instantly. It will fade. It will fade off. But the more relaxed you are, the more breathing exercise you do, the faster it will fade away. Right? So this is conscious relaxation. That's why it's called conscious relaxation. You consciously do something to help yourself relax. And then the tension in the body begin to subside and ease off. So now your body becomes less tense. And this is really what happens when you practice conscious relaxation. Those techniques that I taught last week and also this week, they will help you. And your body becomes more comfortable. And when your body becomes more comfortable, your mind is no longer disturbed. The mind is not distressed anymore. It's discomfort in the body, the tensions in the body, the agitation of the body that can cause a lot of disturbances to the mind. Okay. Very importantly, a relaxed body is a necessary condition for a calm mind. If you don't relax the body, you cannot calm the mind. What comes first? Which can happen faster? Relax the body or calm the mind? A lot of people say, oh, you calm the mind first, your body will relax. That doesn't happen. You need to relax the body first. And it's only by relaxing the body that your mind can become calm. So a relaxed body is a necessary condition for a calm mind. Okay? And then that helps you break the biochemical chain reaction. Conscious relaxation will help you break the biochemical chain reaction. Those exercises we did last week and also the 2 we're going to do this week, they will help you do all this. And when the body is adequately comfortable, you can begin to calm your mind and bring your attention inwards. That is called introspective attention. And bringing this attention inwards, introspective attention, this is really satipatthana, or what people translate as mindfulness. Right? So relaxed body suggests absence of threat because your amygdala is now calm. Your amygdala is no longer aroused because the body is now relaxed. So the amygdala itself will calm down. And you then bring your attention and focus on doing things which are repetitive, flowing, rhythmic activity like exercises, right? You can do various kinds of physical exercises, rhythmic exercises, repetitive exercises, okay? And consciously focus your attention on the present moment. Don't think about the past in your memory. Don't try to imagine the future with your imagination. Don't try to change the present moment with your expectations. Bring your attention to the present moment by observing your breathing. That's the first thing you do to help your mind anchor to the present moment, by observing your breathing. So this observing breathing is not about the process of breathing, not about the breath itself. Of course, the breathing exercise helps, but observing the breathing is not to analyze the breathing. Observing the breathing is simply to bring your mind to the present moment, okay? And in doing so, there is no further arousal of this biochemical chain reaction. The body is relaxed, the mind is now calm, so no more mental disturbances. Mind is calm and composed. So this is really helping you to avoid mental proliferation from imagination, memory, and expectation, okay? So this is the principle behind how we can relieve ourselves from the harmful effects of stress. Let's listen to a very important explanation by this medical research doctor, Dr. Herbert Benson. I think he's more or less retired by now, although he's still doing some lectures at the Harvard Medical School. He's the founder of the Mind Body Medical Institute in the Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. And he is also professor at Harvard Medical School. I believe he's still teaching there on a part-time basis. So let's listen to an explanation by him explaining about this two-step relaxation response.
Using modern technology, Benson is trying to understand how meditation appears to reverse the body's natural stress response.
What we are finding is that for centuries upon centuries, people had discovered that there's something they could do to counteract the harmful effects of stress.
Benson named it the relaxation response. It's the body's innate ability to lower blood pressure, reduce heart rate, and slow breathing.
We are fortunate that we have within us a response opposite to the fight or flight response. That is the relaxation response. And there are scores of techniques.
But in all of them, two steps are needed. The first is a repetition, a word, a sound, a movement. The second is freeing your mind of thought by concentrating on that repetition. And everyone can do it. The relaxation response can be triggered by all kinds of activity, from the repetition of a prayer to the primal beat of dancing. Even the rhythm of exercise can reverse the harmful effects of stress. So how does it work? At an MRI facility in Boston, Herbert Benson's colleague Sarah Lazar is looking inside the brain for an answer. Her subject is a Tai Chi master, Ramel Ronez. He has over 20 years of meditation experience. Ramel has been fitted with equipment to monitor his body temperature and breathing.
What are we doing now?
We're going to do the meditation scan now. So you're going to lie there quietly for a few minutes, and then you're going to begin the meditation.
As Ramel begins his meditation, the MRI scanner takes a series of snapshots inside his brain. Over the next 10 minutes, Ramel will try to empty his mind of thought. As Ramel meditates, his breathing slows to 4 breaths a minute, and his body temperature drops. Inside his brain, activity also slows down, but incredibly, the MRI scan reveals that certain areas have become more active. The red spots show activity. As well as controlling our heart and breathing rate, these are the parts of the brain that control alertness, decision-making, and emotion. It suggests that in a state of meditation, the mind is not only more alert, but that we are able to control our emotional response to stressful situations. Jude Meadows is part of a growing band of people using these ancient techniques to deal with the demands of the modern world. For 3 years, she has been meditating daily to promote the relaxation response and reduce her stress levels.
Learning transcendental meditation is the most significant thing I've ever done in my life. It's made a huge difference to me on a health basis. I feel different, and I've seen a difference in the way in which I work. You have that much more focus and clarity. You could achieve the same results but with less effort. I stopped working weekends and evenings and started to get a bit of a life. So for me, it's the best thing I've ever done.
In a world where stress can pursue us like a predator, managing its harmful effects is critical to safeguarding our mental and physical health.
So that is the two-step relaxation response. Just very quickly, you notice that in the video, there is a mention of one of the postgraduate students who now is actually a researcher who took over or continued the research by Herbert Benson on the effects of meditation, right? How it affects the brain. Her name, Sarah Lazar. You can actually Google her name, and you can find a lot of her material in TED Talks and various other places. Sarah Lazar, L-A-Z-A-R, okay? So she was at that time a postgraduate student under Herbert Benson, but now she's become a major researcher by herself in the benefits of meditation and how it affects the brain. So, a neuroscientist. So Herbert Benson's two-step relaxation response. He basically pointed out the first step is to do something that is repetitive, flowing, or rhythmic, right? An activity that's repetitive, flowing, or rhythmic, right? And there he was using the example of Tai Chi, right? So Tai Chi can be it. Gymnastic is a bit too severe, but yoga can also be rhythmic and flowing and repetitive, right? Or you could use things like a word or a phrase or a chant or a mantra, right, to help you along. And you can also listen to some music, soothing music, right, sound, and follow along the sound, right, or chanting along with it, or movement, right, such as Tai Chi movement or yoga movement and various exercises. And then the second step is to free your mind of disturbing thoughts by focusing your attention, concentrating your attention fully on the activity, focusing on the present moment. That means when you are doing these movements, focus your attention on the actual movement and how it affects your body and how you feel as you go along. So the physical activity and the feeling of this activity. So if you focus your mind on that, then your mind will not be thinking about the past or the future and so on, right? And basically, in case disruptive thoughts may pop up, you can't prevent it. If disruptive thoughts arise, so gently brush them away with a passive response. Not fight it, no, not fighting against it, not pushing it away and not saying, oh, go away, go away. No. When these disruptive thoughts arise, just let it be and say to yourself, well, never mind, and just let it go away. And then go back to focusing your attention on the activity. And this is really the two-step relaxation response. Do not give attention to or dwell upon or recall these disruptive thoughts arising. Simply withdraw your attention from it gently. Don't fight it so there's no conflict. Don't try to push it away. Right? So basically just let go the attention and put your attention back on whatever that you were doing. I'll give you an example. This is a classic example, very practical daily example. Let's say you are at home, you're preparing lunch in the kitchen. So as you are preparing your sandwich, or you're cooking, frying some noodles, or cooking some rice, or boiling a soup, you hear the doorbell. Now, the doorbell goes ding dong, and then you hear the doorbell. Now, the point is, assuming that that house is your mind, and your mind is now focusing on this rhythmic activity. And then the doorbell is like a visitor knocking on the door. It is like a thought arising. So while you're trying to focus on what you're doing, suddenly this disruptive thoughts arising. And when you hear the doorbell and you realize it's not somebody you expected, it's just some stranger knocking on the door. Disruptive thoughts are like strangers knocking on the door. See, thoughts are visitors. Thoughts are not you. You are not your thoughts. When thoughts arise, they are just like visitors. They pop up out of the blue. You have no control over the arising of thoughts. Nobody can prevent thoughts from arising. What you can do is you can focus your attention on something else. And when these thoughts arise, you just let them be and stay focused on whatever you were doing, and then the thoughts will go away. So when there is someone knocking on the door, now, if you don't answer the door and you don't go near the door and you don't do anything about who's knocking on the door, you just focus your attention back on preparing your lunch. Sooner or later, whoever is knocking on the door is going to go away. He can knock for a while, and if there's no response, he's not going to keep knocking. He will think that there's nobody home. When there's nobody home, that stranger who's knocking on the door, he will go away. In the same way, when you are focused on these rhythmic activities, when these disruptive thoughts arise, if you don't entertain them, if you don't fight them, if you don't dwell into them, if you don't interact with these thoughts, eventually the thoughts will go away because your mind is stay focused on whatever it is that you were doing. So this is really the same thing, right? What happens when you're cooking your lunch and a stranger knocks on the door is the same as when you are doing these rhythmic activities and disruptive thoughts are popping up, right? Just let them be and just say, never mind. Say to yourself, never mind, let it go, let it be. Withdraw your attention from it. Don't interact with it, don't fight it. There's no conflict and nothing. So this is the important thing when you want to practice this two-step relaxation response that Herbert Benson was describing. Okay, this is a very, very helpful practice. This can also be used by people who can't sleep at night. You lay down in your bed. Now, if you start to have difficulty falling asleep, just focus on your breathing process. As you breathe in, as you breathe out, just observe the breathing. Don't analyze your breathing, just observe it. Then thoughts will pop up, disturbing you. Just let it be. Well, never mind. And then stay focusing on your breathing as you breathe in, as you breathe out. So this is the exercise you can do while you're trying to fall asleep. Eventually, you will fall asleep. As long as you don't interact with those thoughts, you can eventually fall asleep. I have used it very successfully myself many times at night when suddenly thoughts are popping up because I got projects going on and they keep arising. It's time to sleep. I don't care about the projects. I just want to sleep. So I say, well, never mind. Let it be. Withdraw my attention from it and just observe my breathing. I actually use LSD breathing. I'll talk about LSD breathing in a moment, which I find to be the most effective of all techniques. Okay. So let's talk about mindful breathing. We already explained this in details last week, right? How it increases oxygen intake, which is food for your cells. how it stabilizes your heart rate and blood pressure, how it regulates the body temperature and blood circulation, restoring the condition of stability in the body known as homeostasis. And it calms your nervous system so that it actually stimulates the parasympathetic nervous response and indicating absence of threats, and eventually bringing your attention to the present moment, your attention and an awareness to the present moment. So this is really what breathing exercises can help you. Mindful breathing is the most critically overlooked relaxation tool. It easily relaxes the body and calms the mind. So we have covered these two mindful breathing exercises last week. Let's repeat them. Now, what the whole objective here is, I'm going to show you that I'm going to guide you into the technique of diaphragmatic breathing. But some people may not be aware where is the diaphragm. So there are a few ways you can actually know where your diaphragm is. If you put one hand over your stomach and you make a cough, you can feel something bouncing inside. That's your diaphragm, okay? So let's go back to this. Yeah. So when you cough, you can feel something bouncing inside. That is your diaphragm bouncing away. The same thing, you can even make it work harder by laughing. When you laugh out, then you can actually feel your diaphragm bouncing up and down, right? So what we can do is use this diaphragm workout exercise to feel where the diaphragm is in a gentle way by using breathing, so that you don't overwork yourself. Because if you try to laugh, when you try to calm yourself down and then you're laughing, it may actually stimulate the release of other active hormones like dopamine, and that might make you feel a little bit tense also. So that's not good. So here we're talking about trying to relax, trying to calm down. The exercises we're doing here for these two exercises, we do it by breathing in with the nose. Never breathe in with your mouth. Breathe in always only with the nose, right? No matter what breathing exercise you do, always avoid breathing in with your mouth. Breathe in only with your nose, in breath. In this case, these two exercises only, you breathe out by forming an O-ring, right? So you actually form an O-ring to blow it out, but don't blow it hard. So the first exercise is a diaphragm workout exercises for you to feel where your diaphragm is and how you can control your diaphragm. So this exercise will train you how to control your diaphragm. So you can put one hand over your stomach, and then you can actually feel the diaphragm moving. So what you should do is inhale and take a long deep breath, not hard, gently long deep breath in, hold it for 3 seconds, and then push out 3 times quickly, like that. And when you blow out, put your hand over your stomach, and when you blow out these 3 times, you can feel your diaphragm bouncing. So when you can feel that, you become conscious of where the diaphragm is. And with that consciousness, it trains you. Now you can control your diaphragm for the next exercise, which is diaphragmatic breathing. So let's do this 3 times, all right? Remember, long deep breath gently. Don't do it too hard. And when you blow up, we hold 3 seconds and then blow out. Now, some of you who have never done this before, and you have to be aware, if you blow out and then you start to feel a bit dizzy, some of you may. If you do feel a bit dizzy, then stop, don't do it, okay? That is my advice to you. If you feel a bit dizzy, it's because you're not used to it. Then you can just try it on and off until you get used to it, because you're not used to it, right? So let's do it now, 3 times. Okay, now go back to normal breathing. If you put your hand over your stomach, you can feel the bouncing, and that is your diaphragm. You can now focus on the diaphragm, right, to breathe. When your diaphragm flattens out, it expands your lungs and draws in the breath. When your diaphragm curves back up, it compresses the lungs, pushing the air out. That is diaphragmatic breathing, using the diaphragm to draw the air in by flattening the diaphragm, and then allowing the diaphragm to return back to its natural curved position by pushing the air out. So using the diaphragm to breathe. Normally when you say, oh, you do breathing exercise, people use the chest muscle. That's not good. Why? Because firstly, when you use the chest muscle, you are not working out your diaphragm. I will explain later why working out the diaphragm helps. But the second thing, if you use your chest muscle, you're actually not able to breathe in more air. You are using a lot of tensions on your muscles. But if you use diaphragm to breathe, there is no tension. So now let's do the next method. Okay, very quickly, this method is a relaxing and awakening, strengthening your immune system, because it's stimulating your immune system by stimulating the diaphragm. I'll explain that later. You become more alert and wakeful and cultivating wellness. So diaphragmatic breathing, and basically you put one hand over your stomach and one hand over your chest. If you are doing it correctly, your stomach will move more than your chest. If you are new to this, you may still get some chest movement, but the stomach should move more than the chest if you're doing it correctly. And once you get used to doing this more frequently, eventually you can get to a point where your chest hardly ever moves, and it's only your diaphragm that is moving, your stomach that is moving. As you breathe in, your diaphragm flattens out, the stomach comes out, pushes the stomach out. As you breathe out, the diaphragm curves back up and compressing the lungs, the stomach draws back in, right? So that's really what's happening. So you, by putting one hand over your chest, one hand over your stomach, you can feel whether your technique is successful or not. So you use the diaphragm to draw in or to push out the air. Inhale gently but deeply. That means deep, gentle, not hard. Deep is not hard. Deep means fully, right? Deep. And then exhale gently and slowly. The exhalation slower, right? Slowly. Right? Don't exhale too quickly. Remember, using your nose to breathe in, forming an O-ring to breathe out one time gently. Breathing in 4 to 5 seconds and breathing out 4 to 5 seconds. So put one hand over your stomach, one hand over your chest, and start breathing in by flattening your diaphragm. So you do this exercise, keep doing this at your own pace at home after today's sharing. Okay, so each time 4 to 5 seconds as you breathe in, 4 to 5 seconds as you breathe out, the same amount of time. Do it fully, that means a full breath, right? But not hard. Don't force. No, don't use exert much effort at all. And if you are successful doing this, you will notice only your stomach moves. Eventually, you will have no chest movement. So if you're doing proper diaphragmatic breathing, you won't have any chest movement. You will get a lot of stomach movement, okay? So those are the two techniques we covered last week. Now I'm going to show you 2 more techniques. Before we do that, I'll explain a little bit about the diaphragm, okay? The diaphragm, as I mentioned before, is this curved muscle. Now, what happens is that when you practice mindful breathing or laughter, right, you're actually exercising the diaphragm. So mindful breathing is a gentle exercise. Laughter is a very vigorous, well, not overdoing it, but it's a very vigorous exercise. This is also one of the wonderful things I learned from laughter yoga. So this exercising of the diaphragm is very healthy, right? Why? You see, your body has 12 sets of cranial nerves coming out of the brain, going throughout various parts of your body. The longest of these cranial nerves is a set of cranial nerves known as the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs right through your body from the brain, right passing through your diaphragm. So the diaphragm, it goes right through the diaphragm and goes all the way to the tip of your toe. It's called vagus because in Latin, the word vagus means wandering. So this set of vagus nerves goes throughout your entire body, all over your body. That's why it's called the wandering nerves. It wanders everywhere. It's the longest set of cranial nerves coming out of your brain. So when you exercise your diaphragm, you are actually stimulating the vagus nerve. What does the vagus nerve do? Vagus nerve is involved with what is known as the parasympathetic nervous response, which means it is actually the nervous system reaction of relaxation, calming, and soothing. And it also triggers the release of a powerful hormone called endorphin. Endorphin is a painkiller hormone, right? That's why it's called endorphin, right? As in morphine. Morphine is a painkiller. Endo means internally produced. So in other words, it's not injected into your body. It's not morphine injected in your body. It is produced internally in your body. And that's why it's called endorphin. Endo means produced internally. And this is like having the same effect as morphine. It's a painkiller. It relaxes the body. It soothes any part of the body that is feeling uncomfortable. So this is a very, very helpful hormone. It also does one very important function. That is, it actually boosts your immune system. It helps your immune system become stronger. So if you exercise your diaphragm a lot and a lot of endorphin floods through your body, you will experience better immune system. Especially in a time like this, the coronavirus pandemic, having a strong immune system is so wonderful. It's really a good thing to do. And laughter is by far the most powerful and the fastest way to stimulate this vagus nerves by very quickly and exercising your diaphragm, okay, and releasing this endorphin. If you don't believe me, put your hand over your stomach and laugh out loud. You can feel the diaphragm jumping up and down. You see? Do that. Okay? That's stimulating your diaphragm, right? And that releases a lot of endorphin throughout your body. Very helpful, very healthy, and it boosts your immune system. Okay. So mindful breathing exercises we're going to do today now. LSD breathing, long, slow, deep breathing, and this 468. I'll explain this later. Right. LSD breathing basically means long, slow, deep. Consciously allow the breathing to slow down, and this helps to relax the body and calm the mind. And do not exert effort. Consciously allow. So this is really by allowing the breathing to slow down. So first is allowing the breathing to take longer. Allow breathing to flow 5 to 6 seconds each way. So breathing in 5 to 6 seconds. You don't have to worry about using your diaphragm. So we're not using diaphragm this time. Just a normal breathing, and we don't have to force ourselves to breathe in with the nose and breathe out with the lips. You can do it fully with your nose. But if you want to breathe out with your lips, that's fine. But you can just do it all with your nose, right? In and out with the nose. Don't breathe in with your mouth. Breathe in only with your nose. You can breathe out with your nose, or you can breathe out with your lips or with the mouth. It's up to you, okay? So allow the breathing to flow smoothly for 5 or 6 seconds. And after a while, allow the breathing to go on naturally and effortlessly so that it slows down gradually. And finally, take more full breath in and more full breath out without exerting effort. Importantly, without exerting effort, by simply allowing it to flow. Right? So basically this long, slow, deep breathing, long means you simply allow the breathing to flow longer naturally. And then slow, and then do not exert effort, simply just allow it and let it flow. Consciously allow it to flow longer, right? Don't force it, don't fight it. And as you do that, gradually let it slow down. As your breathing slows down naturally and effortlessly, after a while, then take a more fuller breath, deeper and fuller breath in and fuller breath out. Do it stage by stage. This is not all three at once. Start with long. So let's do that now. Just relax. You may want to put your hand over your chest or your stomach. It doesn't matter. You don't have to, because we are not checking the diaphragm. So now just sit there, find yourself a comfortable position, and simply just allow your breathing to go on a bit longer. Just allow your breathing to flow naturally first. Okay? Don't exert any effort. Breathe in and breathe out. Each way, maybe start with 4 seconds. You can increase it to 5 seconds later on. And once you get used to it, increase it to 6 seconds. So as you breathe in and you breathe out, now, after a while, when your breathing becomes natural, you're no longer exerting effort, gradually allow the breathing to slow down. That is the S part. As your breathing slows down, after a while, take fuller breaths in and fuller breaths out, all without exerting effort. If you're not used to it, initially, each way 4 seconds. Gradually increase it to 5 seconds. And then once you get used to it, you can increase it to 6 seconds. You don't have to do longer than that. There is no need to go longer than that. 4 seconds is good to start with. 5 seconds is ideal. And if you become good at it, 6 seconds is as far as you go. Don't take longer than that. Okay, so you can do this at your own pace eventually. Remember first to just let your breathing flow naturally, right? Slowly, and then gradually slow down your breathing to lengthen it from 4 seconds and then to 5 seconds, and effortlessly. And finally, take fuller breath in and breathe out more full, right? Deeper breath out as well. So this is really the long, slow, deep breathing. Feel free to practice on your own at home. Okay. The next one is helping you to become more energized. It's the 4-6-8 breathing. What happens is that you inhale through your nose and exhale through your lips with the O-ring, as mentioned before. Okay. And when you begin, in other words, before you do step 1, step 2, step 3, you push out 3 times so that you empty your lungs fully. And then you breathe in swiftly, right? Rapidly, deeply, for 4 counts. 4 counts, deep breath in, and then you hold your breath for 6 counts. Now you breathe out very slowly, because you're going to have to breathe out for 8 counts. Exhale very slowly for 8 counts. Okay? So let's start with the beginning by taking a deep breath in and then blow out 3 times, and then only do the 4-6-8. Okay? Deep breath in, blow out 3 times. Breathe in 4 counts quickly. 1. Hold. Breathe out. Deep breath in. Hold. Out slowly. Deep breath in, 4 counts. Hold. Out slowly. Okay, you can practice this at your own pace later on after the sharing. What does this do? This is very relaxing and calming. It helps you focus your attention because now you are focusing your attention on this exercise, this rhythmic exercise as mentioned by Herbert Benson. Okay, this is a rhythmic exercise and helps you to cultivate alertness and concentration. And of course, all this will also boost your immune system and helping you to cultivate wellness. So there you have it. 2 more breathing exercises. This week is just focusing on the breathing. Next week, I'll finish off with the breathing and then we go into mindfulness where we really talk about other aspects of the practice of mindfulness or what the Buddha calls satipatthana. Bhante Punnaji calls them systematic introspection. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful for you. Okay, one more thing. When you practice 4-6-8, do it once or twice. Well, I did, of course, 3 times, and that is one cycle of 3 times. Having done one cycle, take a rest before you do it again. Don't overuse. Don't keep doing this. You have done one cycle of 3 times, then don't do it for a while. Allow 5-10 minutes before you do it again. Don't overuse this because the overdoing this, if you're not used to it, it may cause you to feel a bit dizzy. If you start to feel dizzy, then stop. Don't do it, okay? So this is the important thing. So that we come to the conclusion, the 4 mindful realities. Stress is the autonomic biochemical chain reaction as a defense mechanism, which was evolved as an unconscious reaction to protect the organism from harm. And stress disrupts the body's immune system and produces tension, agitation, discomfort to the body and causes distress to the mind, leading to mental proliferation. The harmful effects of stress can be relieved by breaking this biochemical chain reaction and avoiding the mental proliferation through using these exercises. And conscious relaxation in the long term, conscious relaxation and systematic introspection, these are the most powerful, most effective and sustainable ways to stabilize the body, calm the mind, freeing our body and mind from the harmful effects of stress and cultivating peace and wellness. So I hope today's sharing has been helpful for you, that you have now learned and understood what is stress, how it arises, and how it affects you, and how to let go these harmful effects. Okay, so remember to download the slides if you haven't already done so. And let me see if there are any questions. So please feel free to post any question you may have. I don't see any question. So if you have, quickly type up the question if you want to. So remember to download the presentation slides. So since nobody has posted any question, so I guess we've come to the end of the sharing then, okay? So let's share the merits we have accumulated, okay? If you have any questions later on, please feel free to drop me an email, or you go to Facebook and send me instant messaging, personal message through my Facebook account. Okay, so what we have done in the past hour or so, hour and a quarter, we have spent this time together sharing the Buddha Dharma. We have learned how to cultivate peace and wellness. I hope this has been helpful to you. And in doing so, we have accumulated a lot of good merits. We also realize that there are a lot of people around the world who are suffering from this coronavirus pandemic. So let us all put our palms together and share these merits, dedicate them to the people who are suffering from the coronavirus pandemic. We dedicate the merits we have acquired from sharing the Buddha Dharma to all beings affected by the coronavirus pandemic around the world. May suffering beings be suffering free. May the fear-struck fearless be. May grieving beings shed all grief. May all beings find peace and relief. By the grace of the merits we have acquired, may we never follow the foolish. May we follow only the wise until we attain the highest and most supreme bliss of Nibbana. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope this has been helpful. Please send me any questions if you have. I wish you and your family good health. Please stay safe, and may you all be well, comfortable, peaceful, and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.